just talk me through, Jim, where you are in the stages of grief post Wolves. I think we've all been on a journey over the past 24 hours. So where are we today?
So that's a good question, because I'm examining how I feel about this a lot, because it is, obviously the instant reaction, and I've seen a lot of people very angry with Mikel Arteta, and a lot of people very angry with the players. I think that's justified, essentially, after a ludicrous display like that, shall we say. And it's very difficult, even when the dust has settled, to look at a performance like that and not compare it to points in previous seasons under Arteta, where we've had a bad run of games, and it has ultimately cost us. And I have to, as we've all been doing all season, but with a bit more optimism than you feel at the moment, you got to hold the possibility in your head, haven't you? They're like, this is a pattern that's repeating itself. If we are going to blow this again, this is a symptom of that. And I think, I like to be positive. I like to try and be measured at the same time. And it's one of those results where you think, across these last 3 or 4 seasons, I think this is probably the worst one. It's not a defeat, but it is the manner of it. 2-0 up against the bottom team in the league. Time wasting for some reason.
For me, we're so bad at that, and we always have been bad at that. And you can feel when they do that, you can feel it going against us.
Absolutely,
it's mad.
Absolutely, and I've been thinking a lot about the weird situation we find ourselves in, which seems to happen all the time, where we go a goal up, or in some cases 2 goals up. And then we become so conservative that we don't even look like we're trying to score. And that means the opposition go, we can have a go here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then we sort of drop back into trying to manage them. And in doing so, we invite pressure. We invite shots from distance, which has been a problem for a while. And it was a silly situation that's all of our own making. Because actually, when you look at the game, Wolves didn't play well. They looked like they're bottom of the league. They were giving the ball away all the time. They looked completely bereft of ideas up front, and the first goal is obviously a great goal, but they've got the space to do it. The second goal is just completely self-inflicted, and Wolves obviously sensed that we had that in us, so they went for it, and we let them. Just so many things to absolutely hate about that scenario. And the thing that I can't get past in terms of that anxiety I was talking about, of this being potentially a pattern that's been repeated, is that when we're under pressure, what that creates in this team is a panic response, right? And what it should be creating is a situation where the players are like, okay, we've been under this pressure before. I'm familiar with this feeling. Now I have experience of it. I know how to manage it. And that isn't happening. And that is Arteta's biggest challenge this season. If he can get Arsenal to overcome that, they will win something. They are better by miles than most of the teams they play. But that is the challenge now.
I think it's also really interesting, Jim, you say about Wolves thinking maybe we can get something here. When I take a step back, my biggest anger is Wolves in the last 10 minutes they've got nothing to play for. Mm-hmm. They're as good as down, but they looked like a team with something to play for, and we looked like a team terrified of doing anything. Just want to bring in something that Arteta said a while ago, but less than a month ago, which I think speaks to what you were just mentioning there, Jim. So he was quoted on the 27th of January saying, "We are going to live and play with enjoyment, with a lot of courage, and with a conviction that we are going to win." Sam, I don't know whether you enjoyed watching. Did you think they played with courage and a conviction to win? Because I don't see any evidence of that.
I think for the first 5.5 minutes, that was probably accurate.
That was when we were last happy. Yeah.
And then it faded away fast. I think Arteta's need for control has given us a lot in the last few years. I don't think we can disregard that. But I do think that it feels like it's becoming more and more evident that with that control, to me, it seems like it's stripping the confidence or the individual style away from some key players. In particular, Martin Ødegaard looks completely shot. I know he's injured at the minute, but he looks very unconfident. Same with Eze. Gyökeres is a bit of a weird one. There are key players in that team that should be more creative and should be taking the bull by the horns and are not. I think that maybe Arteta is quashing any of that confidence and sort of confidence, I guess.
What do you think though? Because this has been a kind of, I say over the last couple of weeks, people have been talking about Arteta's need for control. But Jim, what do you think that actually means that the players do or don't do on the pitch? Like, what does I need control? Does that mean we are not giving balls when they're maybe not quite on? We're not taking risks, or is it from a defensive point of view? Because at the end of the game, you could see him on the cameras trying to get the players to calm down. Now, is that someone who's saying, I want control, or is that someone trying to deal with a head loss on the pitch? Like, what do you think actually he means when he says, I want control?
That to me, when you refer to what he was doing on the side of the pitch, it looked like he was essentially telling players physically where to go, which could be an example of either of the things you just put forward, right? As in, like, these are the patterns that we have rehearsed essentially, and that we've agreed to. You need to be there for if X situation happens to receive the ball, etc., etc. Or it could be your shape's all over the place, your heads have gone. To be honest, it's really difficult to say from that. But I think there is a sense that we play in a really, really considered, thought out way that is all about essentially doing the same types of things over and over again, trying to find the same routes to goal. And I sense that actually, when he talks about how this is going to be a fun experience, if you play in a way like that, where you have essentially a limited amount of time in which you can express yourself and a limited amount of time in which you can kind of just read the nature of the game and kind of float around accordingly, I don't know, maybe it's hard to have fun in such a structured way, because it doesn't look like the players are enjoying playing in the Premier League specifically at the moment, and that is of course where all of the pressure is. I mean, we can talk about how well we did in Europe in the group stage, but the group stage and the knockout stage are in completely different things. And obviously we've had a pretty good run in the FA Cup. But obviously the Carabao, again, that's been
two wins out of 6 league games in the last. That does not suggest that we are fixing any of the points that you just alluded to, Jim, where the players maybe know what their role is on the pitch, but don't feel emboldened to read the situation, go, actually, this isn't going to plan. Let's try something else.
Is there an element of people are just tired as well, though? Because, Timber, Martinelli specifically in that game.
Timber was horrendous.
You could just see the life falling out of their legs. And is there a bit of a combined... It's pressure, it's confidence, and perhaps, but it's also like maybe Arteta's yelling, just like move, be there, don't be there, and they can't get there. Also, perhaps this is a symptom of playing so many games. Like if you go back to, it's the most obvious example I can think of, but even if it sounds like a weird one initially, if you go back to when Leicester won the league and the pressure was really on, and they won I think it was 4 or 5 games in a row, 1-0, and they changed their style a bit to make it defensive and to make it difficult. Maybe there is a sense that he's going into games doing that because we played so many games that you need to try and sort of win a few by conserving a bit of energy. So, I mean, that's probably too much of an excuse to give to them and to him, but maybe that is part of it. What I find really frustrating with how kind of flat we look in attack and how uncreative we look is if you go back to the summer when the squad was settled and everybody was brought in, you look at those forward players and you think there are so many different combinations here. There are so many players who can play in the advanced midfield positions alone. Like there are so many potential combinations here. There should be so many different ways for Arsenal to score a goal. And the obviously dream scenario is that you pick a quite different lineup in lots of different games and the opposition don't know how to prepare for it. The opposite has happened. We've become really predictable. I'm kind of baffled as to why that is.
And I think Arteta's come under a lot of criticism, as you say, Jim, for basically playing the same way. And I think that is reflected in the squad that he picks. So Martin Zubimendi has played 2,272 Premier League minutes this season. Christian Ødegaard, who was man of the match against Wigan, has played 32. Jurrien Timber, who I think we can all agree had a difficult night, has played almost 2,200 minutes in the league. I don't know why having minutes in thousands just doesn't sit with my brain. I'm like, is that days? Are we talking days here? But Ben White has had just over 400 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, White's had injuries, hasn't he? So
he's had injuries.
A factor. Ødegaard hasn't.
But Ødegaard is tricky for Ødegaard
because
Zubimendi has been so good that I do feel like if Ødegaard came in some of the quote easier games, I feel like Zubimendi's been so important that fans would have a bit of a problem with it even then, almost,
I don't know, because Ødegaard's not really put a foot wrong in an Arsenal shirt.
I was crying out for Ødegaard on Wednesday night. I was like, bring me uncle. Bring me an adult to come and sort this situation out. That is why we partly bought him for his experience. But you needed a calm head to come on and be like, can you all get a grip? Can you all get a grip? I don't care if he's only played against Wigan. He is an experienced Premier League captain. I was like, put him on. Put him on.
Is it possible, we talk about the player confidence, but is it possible that Arteta's confidence is a little bit shot?
I mean, it's absolutely possible, isn't it? In a situation like this, that's going to lead to some soul searching. It should do anyway. But yeah, I don't think that is necessarily the reason he's not using these players.
But I guess I mean it more from a Saka standpoint, for example. Moving Saka to where he is quite late in the day, season-wise, feels like a bit of a...
This hasn't been working, almost, so let's try something else.
It feels quite un-Arteta-y, actually, to do that.
You're right. It does feel like a bit of a kind of Hail Mary, doesn't it? And I know obviously there are personnel issues that have led to him making that decision. I imagine it will be Ødegaard coming back in at the weekend for that. And there is obviously something to be said for experimenting with that. I think obviously he did well against Wigan. I think we're all kind of intrigued to see it as well. But yeah, I think there is a sense that... Again, one of the criticisms levelled at Arteta is that when it comes to offensive attacking players, he isn't anywhere near as good as he is when it comes to getting performances out of defensive players. And this kind of malaise does suggest there's something to that, right?
100%. I just want to bring in just some correspondence on this, because naturally when a result like this happens, we start considering, who is to blame. We obviously need someone to blame. So Paddy on X says, Arteta needs to be moved on at the end of the season. Style is not Arsenal DNA, more like Stoke. I think he means his style is not Arsenal DNA, it's more like Stoke. Bring in Cesc.
Yeah, I mean, we won a lot under George Graham, right? This kind of idea of the Arsenal DNA being sort of very stylish is a quite modern phenomena.
Yeah, but I do wonder though, Jim, to your point, Arteta has proved that he can organise the team to be very difficult to beat.
Yeah.
I think where we're lacking is a team that finds it easy to beat other teams. I know that's very simplistic, but I think when you look at the result on Wednesday and how it kind of unfolded, when they scored their first goal, I don't think, in my mind, I thought, no, don't worry, this is going to be 3-1, 4-1, 5-1. And you go...
You should know better, though, to be fair.
I know. I know. But at the same time, can we blame Arteta for this? I think there's been a lot of this narrative over the past 48 hours. But for me, we were 2-0 up.
Yeah.
That mix up between Raya and Gabriel has nothing to do with Arteta.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's that kind of anxiety the players are feeling in the moment, isn't it? Because 99 times out of 100, they get the call right between them. 98 times out of 100, because they did it against Sunderland as well, those two specific players. That's quite a simple thing, right? Raya should call earlier, or Gabriel should be more aware of what's around him. Whoever you want to blame for that, maybe a little bit of both. That is simple. That is really simple stuff.
It is, but then I'm like, if it's 4-1, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like you have got yourself into a situation where one error stands between you and dropped points. And it should have been 5-1.
Totally. And a defence as good as ours should be a platform for those attacking players, and they should feel freer to take risks knowing that you've got, that defence behind you. And I feel like that just isn't really happening at the moment.
That's the bizarre piece for me. Is that exact thing. They don't feel confident enough to go for it because they know they're fine behind them. It's just weird. And it's been weird for honestly like a couple of years now.
You got to throw the low block thing into that as well, though. You get teams who just chuck everyone behind the ball against us, and that makes that harder. But it seems to be the case when teams don't do that as well quite often.
Yeah, and I think last year when we were in the transfer window, we were looking at bringing in players who could help us, unlock the low block. One of which has been Viktor Gyökeres. And one stat that's been doing the round is that he has now had 0 shots on target in 60% of his Premier League games, which I think that's as much a reflection of how blunt we are in attack, as much as it is a reflection of the player himself struggling, because all we seemed to have on Wednesday night was crossing it in.
Yeah.
And Jesus take the wheel, like not Jesus. Like the figurative Jesus. Hopefully, if we cross this ball in, it'll end up in the back of the net. And obviously, we got the first goal is a nice cross in, but it's diabolical defending from Wolves, which is what you expect from a team bottom of the table.
Your goalkeeper shouldn't be getting nutmegged from a header.
No, it's actually quite a poor finish as well. You're like, either side of it, that goes in, happy days. But if he's actually just stands up properly, that doesn't go in. But I think the struggles that Viktor Gyökeres has had obviously this stat is extremely damning, and I don't think if we look at it, you'd go, "Oh, that's surprising."
No,
You'd
it's
go,
one of the stats don't always tell the full story, and this is not one of those occasions.
No,
is it?
that
feels like the sight test.
If anything, generous.
Yeah.
I'd say what's the 40% where he did have a shot on target, but I don't think he is alone in really, really underperforming, and I think Wednesday was a very difficult night for Martinelli as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because again, Martinelli started brightly, didn't he?
Yeah.
But that first 5 minutes of the game felt so different from the rest of it, weirdly. Yeah, I think Martinelli is in a really, really odd situation at the moment, isn't he? Where he's such a funny player, because I feel like I say about him quite often, he pressed the Brazil button and he did something really good and really spectacular. And he's got that in his locker, but it was one of those games where, and you alluded to it earlier, Sam, like he's obviously got a lot of football in his legs, or it certainly looks like that, despite sharing responsibilities with Trossard. But yeah, there are times where it just feels like nothing comes off for him.
It's the link, isn't it? It's him with Gyökeres. It's like just doesn't feel. It doesn't
three.
feel like it connects.
It doesn't work, does it?
No.
Of Martinelli, Gyökeres, and Madueke, and I suppose the only way to make that work is to keep trying it. But yeah, it's unconvincing. Dusan Vlahovic is available on a free in the summer for fans of sagas.
Throwback.
Naughty. Just before we look ahead to the weekend, lots of the correspondence has also been a bit, let's just calm down, guys. Calm down. So Little Museum says, optimistic still, 50 years of Arsenal, and it's been worse. This still feels like it will be okay. Mr. Deanface, it's not great, but people need to calm down. Hopefully this will act as a wake-up call and will beat Spurs. Still top by 5 points. It's in our hands, still in all 4 comps. Jim, are you ready to feel like this again?
Well, absolutely, right.
Ready to dive in, be hurt again?
Of course, that is what you sign up to when you
Absolutely.
support
Why
a
would
football
we do
team,
this
isn't it?
otherwise? Do you want me to just sit here and be like, oh, it's over?
Yeah, sure, of course. But
it's not over.
The reason, though, that everybody, and I've already touched on this, the reason that everyone is kind of panicking like that is because we've seen it happen so many times before, right? So it's not, I think it's not unreasonable for people to go, oh God, here we go again. But that doesn't necessarily mean it is going to happen again. Now, we know we need to be better, but letting a 2-goal lead slip against the worst team in the league, that has to be the nadir, doesn't it? And sometimes you get performances that are so bad that a response is inevitable because they're just constantly getting rockets on the training ground and stuff like that. And it's actually quite a worrying thing sometimes, isn't it, when you face a team off the back of a shellacking, because you're like, well, there's no chance they're going to be as bad as that again. So, yeah, we have to see a response. We know that this team is much better than this. Now, the style of the football this season hasn't always been thrilling, but it wasn't that long ago that we comfortably beat Leeds 4-0, comfortably beat Sunderland 3-0. It's, we've got these performances in there. Yeah, for sure. And I don't think this is indicative of, the real Arsenal, this result. So, I'm not throwing the towel in just yet.
Oh, no.
I'm going to use it to clean a ball and do a long throw with it.
So many towels, isn't it? Recently, so many towels.
Lots of towels. Sam, are you ready to be hurt again?
I am ready, yeah. I'm feeling like quite pumped actually for the weekend.
Yeah, okay.
Feeling quite fucking good about it in a weird way.
Well, on that note, after the break, it is time to go to Spurs. Welcome back to the thing about Arsenal. It is the North London derby. On Sunday, we face Spurs at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Spurs are the only team in the Premier League without a win this year. So, of course, this is not the win that they're going to get, and we will happily walk away with 3 points and life will be good again, yes?
I hope so.
Correct.
I agree, actually, with your future.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Obviously, they will have a little bit of new manager bounce.
Well, in theory.
Yeah.
I don't know if you get that if it's an interim manager. We haven't.
That's true,
actually, I mean, sometimes you get it more because there's less pressure on an interim manager, right? And there's less expectation. And there are, going into this game, the circumstances are really interesting, right? So we've played 3 times since Spurs last played. They've obviously had a little bit of time under Igor Tudor to come up with a bespoke game plan for us. He likes to play a back 3, but he's only got 2 available centre backs, so he'll either move João Palhinha into the back 3 or do something different. They've got loads of players out. Their captain's missing because he got himself suspended in the boneheaded way that he so often does. So it's a weird one where there's not much pressure on them because they're just happy that Frank isn't there anymore.
Sure.
The atmosphere is going to be interesting. They will love the fact that they are playing us in a low moment, and they could be the reason that City have the chance to go above us. There's all that. So they're going to be pumped up for this. I think the atmosphere is going to be very, very different, obviously, from how it would have been under Thomas Frank. But again, they've got so many players missing. They've got some attacking talent. Solanke being back is a concern, isn't it? Because he's been really good since he came back. He's hit the ground running a bit. Xavi Simons is looking a bit better lately, but still a bit patchy. There are reasons to obviously be cautious about Spurs. But as I say, they've got all of those players out.
Sam, they are going to be playing without Christian Romero because he's got other things to be doing, such as moaning about them not signing players and then getting himself sent off, which is just fantastic. That should be a big boost for us.
Yeah, but he is guaranteed a red card on the day.
Yeah,
so I do miss that red card already. You know,
but he's a goal threat as well, right? So.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he brings the kind of chaos to Spurs that I think Arsenal fans love in a weird way because he combusts at some point. So that's kind of fine. I think the amount of players they have missing is obviously of massive benefit to us. But in a weird way, Jim, like I'm sure you feel this as well, like it adds an additional pressure. We have to perform because if we do fall short in that circumstance, it looks even more embarrassing.
And that's a prize for them, isn't it? So that's what they're going to be using as motivation.
Exactly. Their only joy that they get at the moment is from our misery, which is a very sad way to live, but such is where they find themselves. And I think the one thing that is making me a bit nervous about this fixture is because of how we have played recently and how we have behaved recently, I'm going to be losing my mind if we go 2-0 up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And
especially in this fixture. And
I agree, Jim, that this is a good fixture for us to have. But I do wonder whether this is one of the ones where we actually just need to take all of the emotion out of it. Literally, this is just another game that we have to get past, because I'm just worried that we're going to fall into the trap of we've just had quite an emotional finish. We were losing our minds at full time. Gabriel Jesus literally shoved over one of the Wolves players. We then go into another high pressure situation. I'm just worried that that's too much.
I do wonder though if I hear you, but there is a bit of me that thinks that look at Eza, right? He played so well against Spurs early in the season. And
hasn't scored or assisted in the league since. I'm here with the facts, Sam. I'm here with the facts.
Break, Laura. But no, like I feel like he's a real vibes player, right? And I think he's got it in him to sort of like he can feel that energy and he can do something with it. And I think this is a real high pressure occasion. And we've talked a lot about Arteta being controlled, it being all controlled. But we've also talked a lot about that not working. And I do think that like with the players missing for Spurs, I actually kind of feel the opposite. I actually kind of want a bit of chaos because I think that we've got more talent on the pitch to make use of that chaos. I think.
I also think just, emotional occasions are inevitable. You have to learn how to manage them. And, your own sort of performance anxiety is something you have to manage as well. And there isn't another game in the fixture list that is as kind of emotional and kind of anxiety making as this. And that's clearly true for both sets of players as well. So actually, I think this fixture couldn't come at a better time because we have to reset after the kind of mental collapse of Wednesday. And it is about mental application as well. So I think this is an opportunity to like lay down a marker by just going, no, bang, we are so back. But I agree with you in terms of the way we actually approach the game in terms of style. I hope it's a bit looser and a bit different, and there's a bit more freedom to it.
This is also, I think, one of the first games maybe this year where it's like a big emotional occasion. I think we've had a lot of games in the past 6 weeks where it's Leeds and obviously Wolves. I do agree that this is one of those occasions where you're like, if you cannot get up for this, how are we going over into the Champions League knockouts? How are we going to the Carabao Cup final, etc., etc.?
There's also the points thing, I think, in a weird way. Like we've been playing this like 6 points, 9 points gap game for months now, and I feel like you say, like if the fire isn't up you to kind of do this now when it's sort of make or break, we don't deserve to win the thing.
And we're playing last again, right? Which we've been terrible at. So actually, all this pressure. It's a perfect opportunity for them to reset. This has to feel like returning from Dubai, a couple of seasons ago. It needs to feel like a very definitive second part of the season from us going forward, because the fog in the standards have slipped clearly, and the players have been saying that. Arteta's been saying that. It's clear for all to see, and they've got no other choice but to arrest it. Mm-hmm. And this, again, I know I'm sounding like a broken record here. This is the perfect opportunity to begin that.
Sam, you mentioned as a potential key moments guy. We are also expected to have potentially Martin Ødegaard and Kai Havertz back this weekend. Jim, does that make you feel even better?
It does, because it's a point of difference, isn't it? Havertz in particular.
Yeah.
Be very intrigued to see where Havertz plays, if he does play. If he starts, maybe he won't start. But it's funny, isn't it? Because Gyökeres has been really, not really good, but at his best with Havertz up top with him. So I'd be intrigued to see if Arteta is kind of tempted to try that again. And we've not seen Havertz, essentially start up top all season. So maybe that's an option as well, something different. I mean, he is, far more likely to be more effective than Gyökeres has been so far this season.
Yeah, I mean, so, I think in terms of starters, Jim, you are right. I don't know if he'll start, but I also think that Arsenal have been very cautious with bringing players back this year, because I think they're very aware of losing everybody. Exactly, with good reason, like the same with Saka. So I'm kind of optimistic that he will be fit enough to start. I think the main one, mentality-wise, is Ødegaard for me. I think it's a real opportunity for Ødegaard to show everybody who Ødegaard was last year and the year before, and why he was such an important player, but character and like symbol of the club. And he really needs to bring that on Sunday. It's so important.
I really liked how the team changed to accommodate Havertz playing a bit closer towards Gyökeres and having Rice and Zubamendi drop back as a bit more of a screen. I'd like to see the same with Ødegaard. Because he naturally seems to want to come and get involved a bit deeper, doesn't he? But I think his qualities are better used further forward. So I wonder if that blueprint has accidentally been set for him.
And from memory, and again, without the data in front of me, I think Ødegaard has performed very well at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I can remember a couple of games where he's been Mr. Puppet Master. And we also haven't lost...
Muppet Master, I think it would be, at their stadium.
Yeah. That's definitely what I meant. We also haven't lost there for many moons, 3 seasons.
Stop it.
Again, I'm providing the facts.
I know,
Sam. You
Stop
can
getting upset about facts.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Facts don't care about your feelings. But carry on.
What do we think about calls for Kepa to come in over Raya?
No, but I understand why people are calling for it, because I think you kill the confidence of the goalkeeper if you don't give him an opportunity to put it right. But he needs to put it right, because that was a really, really silly moment. I think he's had a bit of criticism for nearly dropping the ball recently. I think it was possibly against Sunderland. I think he was being fouled while that happened, so I think he kind of put that away. It's uncharacteristic from him, but it's also not the first time, so it's kind of like... Yeah.
I think I also saw some criticism of him for the first goal that Wolves scored, that he was too far off his line. And
it's a bit harsh,
I think that's a little bit harsh, but I am also quite bored of Arsenal conceding world-class goals from outside the area. Yeah. So maybe something to adjust.
Can we talk about his hair just for one moment?
He's looking good now.
It's looking nice. Yeah. At the minute. A little bit longer. I think it suits his bone structure a lot more. Hard agree.
Really a lovely choice. So hopefully he'll continue that.
Thank you.
Just before we talk a little bit about the Man City hate watch that will be going on the Saturday before we play, Jim, what do you tend to do in the build-up to a North London derby? Do you kind of pretend it's not there and then turn the TV on at the last minute, or how much does it consume you?
Yeah, do you sit in it?
Yeah, do you indulge in it, or do you kind of keep it at arm's length until you have to watch it?
I try to remain calm, but then I realise I'm cartwheeling. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, I don't normally do. Why am I planking? I don't normally do push-ups in the cafe. What's going on? Yeah. I try and keep my mind off it, but my body just reminds me that I am full of nervous adrenaline.
Yeah.
Do we like the 4:30 kickoff time for the North London?
Absolutely not.
I hate it.
This is a
worst possible one.
Yeah,
bad smell hanging over you.
I disagree. I think it's 12:30 Saturday is the worst.
Really?
No.
Oh, but if you win, you've got this glorious horizon in front of you.
But if you lose, it kills not only the game but the weekend and everything. And
Yeah, but you know one way or another, right? We're on the 4:30 kickoff. You're waiting for it all weekend.
The speculation is horrible ahead of it. Sam, do you have a routine that you do?
I, as you well know, enjoy cooking, eating, hanging out.
Is that something that you do?
It is.
It's not your hinge profile.
A lot of standing in the kitchen, stirring a pot.
Yeah.
Refreshing apps with team news, etc.
Yeah, it's like I'm trying to find some sort of future
How
post about what the score
hard
was.
can I pull down? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's it, really.
That's
What's
it.
your vibe?
I'm going to make a confession on here that my husband and I had a discussion not long after the final whistle had gone on Wednesday night as to whether we actually just go on a bike ride during the North London Derby, and we just cycle out of London for 45 minutes and then back in, and then we just accept the fate. And we don't watch it.
But you're just thinking about it the
Yeah,
whole time,
totally.
aren't you?
You just
It's way
think
worse
about
than
it.
not watching
Just
that sort of scenario.
Absolute hell. But there is. I think I agree, Jim. There is no better fixture to get up for, to correct what has happened, and also just to lay down a marker as to it is not over, and the gap will remain what the gap is. That's kind of none of our worries at the moment. At the moment, it is we need to recover from Wednesday night, beat a side that we should be slapping, and the vibes will come back.
And also, let's not forget, if West Ham have a good day and Spurs have a bad day, and Forest have a good day, they're
there.
Hey, they're dropping, baby. They're going.
Well, unfortunately, Man City play before us. So Man City face Newcastle at 8 p.m. on the Saturday.
Who played in Baku the other night.
Direct flight from Baku.
I'm
for
sure
that fixture.
they'll be feeling fresh and ready to go. Newcastle, I'm sure they've got a lot to play for, and I'm sure they're desperate to do us a favour. But Man City did lose last time they faced Newcastle in the league back in November.
Then made absolute clowns of them twice in the Carabao Cup.
Yeah, Jimmy,
So,
how confident are you feeling that Newcastle are going to get a result here?
like 0.01%.
Yeah,
and
nice.
that's no criticism
generous.
of Newcastle there. It's just because of the circumstances of them coming back from Baku. I know they've kind of picked up a bit in the league recently. But yeah, and I know, like you say, they beat them in the reverse fixture earlier in the season, but I don't think you can expect Newcastle to do us a favour
It's
this
a fixture
weekend.
you read and you go, oh. And then you quickly realise that it's not happening.
They've got some players out as well. Like
it's just not happening.
Yeah.
And also, like, City look terrifyingly robotic now, and they
they're
just
starting
look
to click
on
into
it,
that.
and it's so it's awful.
Yeah, I just thought I'd bring the vibes up with
Thank
that one.
you.
Yeah, you're
Yeah, thanks for
welcome.
that.
Well, to actually bring the vibes back up, after the break, Bukayo Saka officially signs a new deal. Welcome back to the thing about Arsenal. Starboy signs. Our son, our collective child who we have brought up. It's amazing to see a family member flourishing.
Yep.
But Saka has penned a new 5-year deal. Timing-wise, Arsenal know what they're doing. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yep. Bring the vibes back up. It was either going to be, as Gunner's Delight said on YouTube, there'll be new merch release before Friday, social media and YouTube video drops of players in training doing high fives and shaking their hips. We didn't quite get that, but we will. But we did get Bukayo Saka.
Yeah. Regardless of the context, it's great news, isn't it? I mean, we can all think back to a time where Saka broke into the team. I remember thinking when it was clear that this is a really, really good player. It was back in the time where you thought, well, we can't hang on to those players. So
He'll be an iron up
you kind
Liverpool.
of earmarked him for someone who would move on, just out of habit, really. So it's nice to have a player like that where you can reflect on the journey from that time to this time. It's great to tie him down. It means that everybody's tied down as well. He's had some criticism this season for his form, hasn't he? Like he's not scoring as often, he's not assisting as often. He's, I think, been over-criticised at times. There's definitely times where he's still been making contributions to games and contributions in build-up to goals and things like that. And obviously his corners are a massive, massive part of why we're so effective from set pieces. But without a doubt, that is a story. I don't think that is reflective of the true quality of Bukayo Saka. No. I think he's just in a little bit of a dip. Most players go through that in their careers, and I'm really thrilled that we're going to have him as essentially like a kind of what they call a reference point these days and a touchstone in the team for 5 more years.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I also think that from a club standpoint, from a PR standpoint, he represents Arsenal perfectly. He's an Arsenal boy, and I think that's very important, especially in light of all the party stuff we talked about the other week. I think that is the bad side of things that can happen or whatever, but I think Saka is he's a true representation of what Arsenal wants to be now and in the future, and I think it's a really it's a great story, and I think it sets us up for the next 5 years certainly, but for a long time in the future, I think.
This new deal makes him the club's best paid player as well, so over 300 grand a week, which I think, Jim, to your point, that is a recognition of maybe what's gone before. Do you think there is potentially another level for which he is yet to unlock? People often compare, Salah and Saka, and that Saka maybe has another level that he can go up to.
I mean, I think he has to, in a weird way.
Yeah.
I think he has to go up to another level because, as Jim has said, he hasn't had a great season by his own amazing standards.
I think, Laura, forgive me if I'm wrong here, but I think you mean a level above that again, don't you?
Potentially, yeah. I think if I go forward 5 or 10 years and we look back at Saka, and Sky Sports are obsessed with things like this, like running polls on whether he's world class. But which is a completely pointless discussion if we're not going to define what world class means. Like, don't waste my time. But I'm thinking, what would it actually have to take for him to be really the best player to have ever played at Arsenal?
He needs to be doing it in the Champions League this year, I think, to really start that.
Interesting.
I think maybe we've talked about saving players back and keeping them fit. I think Arsenal want the Champions League more than most things, and I think that's the prime stage for him to really shut some doubters up, frankly, and to do it on a stage that is previously, I guess, been unseen.
That's interesting, because when I think about Saka, I am more after consistent output and consistent goals.
But I think that the Champions League as a stage is gonna switch that media narrative around him being world class. I think if he's doing it against Real Madrid in the semi-final of the Champions League.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it wasn't the semi-final, but he scored in the Bernabeu. I think it's an interesting point, though. It is a major stage. He's already made contributions there, and it's about being consistent, isn't it? It's about being one of those players where every season that they're going to kind of do the business in that sort of competition as well. A league title would be massive, wouldn't it? Because straight away you're among the greats.
Yeah.
Do you get fearful? Sorry, one more thing. Do you immediately think of Aubameyang when he got that contract and he was terrible whenever someone signs a massive contract?
Yeah, it's quite a common thing, isn't it? I suppose Mo Salah's another one, but then you factor in both of those players' ages at the time, and Saka is of the character where I think he just loves playing for Arsenal and loves playing football so much that I don't think he's going to get distracted like that. Also, someone has to be the highest paid player, right? It is just the nature of being a club in the kind of towards the top end of the league that you're going to have a very high profile, very high paid player. I think it makes sense for anyone coming in that the guy that's come through the academy as well is obviously given this status. So it is just something we have to wear. When you are playing at a high level, you have to pay players a huge amount of money. It's just part of it.
And not that long ago, we wouldn't pay these wages.
No,
we would kind of complain that we couldn't get the talent in, and our players would be off to Man City, Liverpool, etc., because we refused to play. Whereas now we have maybe recognised that if you want a superstar and you want to retain them, 300 grand is the baseline.
Also, we can pay that now as well, which I think, to be fair to some of the figures at the club in the past, we weren't always able to do that. And a big part of that was a boardroom tussle between Stan Kroenke and Alisher Usmanov. Apparently, Kroenke was kind of unwilling to put more money into a club, knowing that it would raise the value and therefore the share price of shares he was then looking to buy. So that was why there was that kind of standoff there. We're not in that situation anymore, and I think it is appropriate for a club like us to be paying competitive wages.
And we are producing 4,800 SKUs of different merchandise.
Exactly.
That does help.
That certainly does help the bottom line.
Yeah, the pay for Saka collection is one I would absolutely get behind.
100%. Yeah, give me a new jacket. I'm buying it because I know that I'm paying for Saka's wages. Just to flip that on its head, though. So Aubameyang signed a contract, kind of went downhill. Saka potentially signs a contract and flips his entire season on its head. 15 goals and 3 assists from the next 12 games. Is that a possible, Jim?
Do you think then that he's been a little bit less effective this season because he's got money worries? Is that what
you don't know.
Negotiation tactic.
Yeah. I'm living paycheck to paycheck. I don't know when my next paycheck.
Overdraft again.
God. And now that 300 grand a week is going to be confirmed, he's like, right, now let's get back to business.
Yeah, I suppose, to answer that less like a prick. If you're in a situation where you have a sort of contract like that that needs to be kind of thrashed out and figured out, it's probably a quite involved, complicated process. And hopefully now that that's done and now that it's announced, because I'm sure it was done a while ago, that distraction just won't be an issue. And I think in terms of how Saka's played, I think he just needs to be a bit more clinical, and those numbers will come back up. And obviously he needs to have an understanding with Gyökeres that isn't quite there yet, or let's be honest, Gyökeres needs to not play. Whatever the way to sort of get those assist numbers up. He's getting shots off. maybe needs to be a bit better on that. Maybe needs to be a bit more clinical.
Yeah, I think it comes down to, fitness is a massive factor, obviously. And the Madueke thing, like, is he going to be playing in that position? Is he going to be taking that spot off Madueke? Is he going to be drifting in the 10 like he was the other day? Like, I guess it comes down to that and how Arteta is going to be, molding the team. But I feel like Saka's, he's done it before, and he can. We know we can do it. He can do it again. But I do think that he's sort of at the mercy of the wider attacking element of the team, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I think he's got it. He's got it in him to get his assists up and start scoring. But maybe it's a bigger problem than just something he can solve on his own.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we touched already on the show about how the attacking unit looks a bit incoherent, doesn't it? I feel like he needs a moment. Needs a goal in a big game.
I actually agree with you, but I will say this now. One of those shots that he takes where he's trying to curl it in from the edge of the box, one of those goes in, we are back in business.
In off crossbar.
When it makes that sound.
Yeah. Overhead kick while we're making them up.
Yeah.
Why not?
Why not? A free kick, please. But I think, and again, this is very simplistic, he needs to do what he's been doing, but better.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right.
You just need to execute.
Right.
You just need the shot that you sent in that went wide needs to not go wide. Yeah. The cross that you sent in that was a little bit slow needs to be a bit quicker.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a positioning thing. I don't think it's he's not trying. I just it's like, A+ for effort, but B- for execution.
Totally.
Just be better.
Yeah, we need a sexy 20 minutes against Spurs to really just like sharpen things up and get everyone going, I'm
Gets the people going.
That's it. Gets the people going.
As Jim mentioned, that is now everyone locked in. They are aboard the Starship and there is no going back. And I think that's a very good reflection of their buy-in to Arteta, the current situation with the club and where they think the club's going to get to. You don't sign a long-term contract unless you're really kind of bought into where the club is going.
And also, from the other perspective, from the Andrea Berta perspective, something that he's been tasked with doing is getting better at selling, right? And if you get everybody on a long contract, you're in a better position to negotiate if you do want to move someone on.
Just before we finish, I just want to say, again, please allow me to be a bit corny for the next 30 seconds, but over the past 24, 48 hours since the Wolves result, I have felt so connected to the Arsenal community, and I hate that this is what it has come to. But we live in a increasingly disconnected society. But I just want to thank everyone for joining us in the trauma bonding that has happened.
Absolutely.
I've never had so many funny messages from Arsenal fans about what they're doing to deal with grief.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to say thank you, everyone. It's been 50% the worst 2 days of my life, but also 50% maybe the best for feeling like I belong to something bigger than myself.
So does that just level out as like a normal day?
Yeah.
I would have thought so. Yeah. But I had a productive day yesterday staying off socials. And then when I started reading through some of the messages of people doing the same thing, trying to distract themselves, I felt really connected to everyone.
Yeah, that's nice.
Isn't that nice, isn't it?
And actually, I have to say, listening to you and Johnny react to the game was really soothing and a bit of a salve. There is a therapeutic quality to it. And I'm here for it. I enjoyed it.
If we are going to be sad, we're going to be sad together. And we're going to trauma bond throughout the next 12 weeks or so.
Not on Sunday, though.
Not on Sunday, though.
Happy on Sunday, guys.
Exactly.
Happy on Sunday. Well, guys, thank you for joining us on this episode of The Thing About Arsenal. Remember to hit subscribe wherever you're watching and listening.